Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Maria Fernandez, and I am the manager of student initiatives and programs for ALPFA National. I have the pleasure today to be joined by Cydya Thomas. She is our lead for our National divERGe program, and she has tons of experience with ERGs, but I will let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So as Maria mentioned, I am Cydya Thomas. I am the lead for the divERGe National Program, and I have a background in HR operations, and really employee networks, so ERGs. I have over 16 years of experience in this space. I love working with people. I love working with employee resource groups and really just helping them to develop and really impact their organizations. So love being a part of this divERGe program. And I was on the ALPFA national team actually when divERGe was created. So it's pretty awesome to still be able to be a part of this organization and to be a part of this program.
Yeah, and we'll love to have you as part of the team for the divERGe program. Cydya, in your experience and knowing that you're, the lead of this program, what is divERGe?
So divERGe is an employee resource group training program, right? It's really created to kind of help employees and organizations really launch, build, and grow their employee networks. We chose the name divERGe when we came up with this program because we really wanted to be able to think outside of the box and kind of get away from the norm, if you will, right? To really think creatively, to come up with solutions that employee resource group members can really implement. So divERGe is just an ERG training program, right? It's for leaders of ERGs, but also for aspiring leaders, people that are just members of any employee resource group that are really looking to flex that leadership muscle and become an employee resource group leader. Because as many of you know or may not know, employee resource groups are typically led by volunteers. So it's like your side job, right? It's like your side gig that you don't get paid for, but the work is truly meaningful and really makes a big difference. So divERGe is the program really to help you elevate and take your ERG to the next level. What's really cool about divERGe also is that it really meets you and your employee resource group directly where you're at. So what I mean by that is you can be a new employee resource group that is just now getting started or maybe even hasn't started but is planning on launching. And you can be a super experienced employee resource group that has been around for decades. And, since ERG started in the 70s, right? It could have been around for a long time with your organization. But divERGe really will meet your ERG exactly where it's at and just provide some training for those leaders to help take your ERG to the next level, your employee resource group to the next level.
And that's one of the beautiful things about this program, that you can have, ERG leaders or, from a new ERG that's just starting within the company, or even an ERG that has been in the long run in a company, and you can still get a lot of value from the program.
Absolutely. Literally anywhere where you're at. And I think because of the diverse organizations and partners that participate in divERGe also, you're really learning from so many different people, all of our experts and content creators that help us to put together the curriculum and everything as well. Like there's just a wealth of experience when it comes to employee resource groups. So yeah, I agree. You can, any ERG can benefit from this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cydya, how do you believe employee resource group training programs like ours, divERGe, can contribute to the overall success of a company?
So I think that any training program, right? If a company is investing in a training program, it's to really develop their employees, right? Which in turn really develops and improves your organization, right? So I think that any ERG training program also, it significantly really does contribute to the company's success. It really just helps you foster that diverse and that inclusive environment, right? It helps you build a culturally competent workplace as well. ERGs really help companies help their employees be able to identify and provide that safe space also. So I think if you're investing in an employee resource group training program like divERGe, right, it really helps with the overall success of the organization. It's proven that companies that invest in their DEI programs and in their employee resource groups really have more innovation, right? There's more innovation. Their employees are more satisfied. I think that tremendously makes a big difference in your organization if you have happy employees or not happy employees, right? So you have employee satisfaction, you have a competitive edge on the market. And I think just your overall organizational effectiveness is just tremendously impacted by these training programs, I think culture is a big thing. It's a word that we hear all the time, right? Like the workplace culture. And that's because it really is a big deal when you have engaged employees, when you have satisfied employees. And I think that when you're investing in your employees in ERG training programs, ERGs really help to do that, right? ERGs really help to support the whole person, the whole employee. Not so again, you're as an ERG member, you're a volunteer, but you're really impacting the organization, and you're doing it in a community of people that you can relate to, right? That it's an affinity, or maybe it's a community that you are just interested in, but it's in a certain community. So you're really helping to build that employee satisfaction and that engagement. So those employees that are part of ERGs, they help the culture of your overall workplace. So I think that it just really goes hand in hand with contributing to the company's overall success in general.
Yeah, and organizational culture is so important for the success of, your personal success, but also, that support system that you have from feeling good where you work at and with the people that you work at. It kind of aligns with the mission. It throws you to, it becomes your own mission, the mission of the organization.
Absolutely. When you want to be at work, when you're happy to be at work, and it definitely changes the quality of the work that you're going to get from those employees. So when you have engaged and happy employees and employee resource group members, if you're investing in that too, to show them like, hey, we know, we believe in our ERGs, we believe in the value of them, and that we want these to be successful. I think that just speaks volumes. And I think that just, happy people, happy workplace gives a much better overall work culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How does divERGe's tailor approach ensure our professionals are positioned for immediate and long-term success?
So the cool thing about how we the approach for divERGe is we really try to have a combination of like targeted topics and skill development, right? We always try to make sure that there's continuous learning. So again, meeting those ERGs wherever they're at and making sure that there's that continuous learning and really strategic alignment with their organizational goals. So one thing that our approach also does is it really provides practical application. So it's things that you're learning, it's hands-on learning, and things that you can take right from that lesson or right from that session and apply it immediately to what you're doing. So let's say we're doing something on, annual planning for next year, right? If you haven't done your annual plan, or even if you have done your annual plan, you can then go and take some of the things that you've learned, some of the things that you've learned from the curriculum, but also from, again, the large amount of other people that are also in the divERGe program with you in their cohort, with people just sharing these ideas and you're hearing from these experts. I think that is just great for you to be able to take that and really apply it. So practical application that can be implemented immediately. And then that continuous learning culture. I think that's a big one too, because we're everybody that's a part of the divERGe program, we're continuously learning and teaching and learning new things and seeing what's going on in the industry and industry trends and really being able to bring those to participants in a way that they can implement it. So I think the continuous learning and the practical application where you can easily apply it is a key thing when it comes to our approach. And I think that it helps with that immediate and that long-term success, because we also put frameworks around certain topics that we talk about. We have a framework where people can take that framework and see how it can apply. So even if it doesn't apply directly to what you're doing, your organization might run a little bit differently, or, all ERGs operate differently from organization to organization. There's still something that you'll be able to apply or something that you'll be able to learn from our frameworks and implement. So, and I think that having the various industries also as being a part of divERGe, it's really cool when you can have like, oh, here's two different organizations, but maybe they're in the hospitality industry or maybe they're in the banking industry. So just hearing what's worked for others and hearing from all the experts is just, I think it's a great approach that we take. And it really sets ERGs up for immediate success, but long-term as well.
But also the fact that you have the possibility to network with other people from other companies that their ERGs might be in a different level than your ERG. So you're able to, learn from others that might have gone through the same things that you are going through now and learning from them. And also like the whole framework of the program and all like the specific templates and worksheets and everything that you're providing
Absolutely.
through the program, but also, that learning experience from what has worked, what has not worked, what have you tried, maybe something that you just implemented into your ERG and that worked really well, and I might be able to implement it maybe next year for Hispanic Heritage
Mhm.
Month, or Mentoring Month, for example, which is closing right now. But for those like specific things that you can implement into your ERGs, I think that's one of the most impactful things that could potentially help someone, achieve that success short term and long term as well.
I agree. I think, you hit it, you said it, and I kind of touched on it earlier too, like the network, right? The network of people in the various locations, the various industries, and just being able to learn from all of those people and hear what's working is just, I love that. And even this year, we had special requests to continue some of those sessions because just hearing from others on what worked for a Hispanic Heritage Month, like what are some of the things that different companies have done, what are some of the ways that other organizations celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month. So even if you don't apply it now, well, you have a whole list of things to try and look at and take back to your steering committees and to your employee resource groups, your executive sponsors, et cetera. Take them back to your organization and say, hey, this is what this organization did, and it sounds really cool, right? There's no shortage of ideas. There's no shortage of information, and it's all implementable, right? And budgets are a big thing. So that's another thing, going back to the question that you asked about, the immediate or long term. Sometimes you just might not have a budget to be able to implement some of the things, but there's all sorts of creative ways, right? Again, diverge, right? Getting away from the norm, right? We're diverging away from the norm. And I think that there's so many creative ways to be able to implement so many things, even with low or no budget, right? And you're getting all these ideas and lots of creativity that goes on from just the networking as being a part of diverge.
Also, the amazing thing, the other amazing thing is the fact that you might have to do things within your ERG that are away from your current role in your work. So, maybe at some point you will be able to use those skills to upskill or to ask for a promotion or to be able to,
Mhm.
exit to achieve maybe that role that you've been waiting, but you during your day job or your current job, you don't get the experience, to implement some of those things.
Exactly. Agree. Yep. I love that. ERGs are really a space to be able to do that, I feel like, because again, it's volunteer. So you can flex those muscles that you don't get to use every day. Maybe I'm not on the comms team, right? Maybe I'm not on the communications team, but for my ERG, I might be the communications lead. And maybe I'm interested in getting into communication. So it's a really cool way for me to be able to flex that muscle for people to be able to flex the muscle that they might not get to use in their regular everyday jobs. So yeah.
So
Love that.
true. So how does divERGe stay ahead of the curve in regards to the program's curriculum?
So diverge stays ahead of the curve in different ways. So I feel like our facilitators, our special guests, our content creators, they're all industry experts. They all have years of experience in this space and currently work in this space now. So they're in various industries also. So they're constantly learning. We're going to training programs, we're attending things, we're seeing what's out there. We're talking to our colleagues that are in this DEI space, right? DEI practitioners, and they're learning from various organizations, different trainings and all that stuff. So they're staying above the curve, ahead of the curve. And the trends, right? Things are always trending, always changing. But I think that, our curriculum, content creators and all that, they're just staying ahead of it by attending and just constantly learning. I mentioned it earlier, like the continuous learning is what we try to teach those that are attending the divERGe program as well. I think it's the same thing for the facilitators and for the special guests. We're all in that space, and we're all in the employee network space, and we're just constantly learning and bringing those ideas to the team and learning from divERGe participants as well. I think that it's we're learning what other people are doing. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that's one of my favorite highlights, the networking piece and the way that you can learn from others' experiences and what others are doing. It's working really well. I think
Mhm.
that's for me, that's the part that I love the most about the experience in the program.
Yeah, I have
What
to agree
will
with that. Oh, go ahead.
no, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say I have to agree with that, and I think that also just hearing from past divERGe participants, they've said the same thing. Like it's one thing to be a part of a program where there's people in the class in the sessions with you, but you don't really get to see them. So I love how the divERGe program is broken down, where there are those in person sessions also that people can attend if they so choose to, and I think that that's so great because it's people that you've seen on your webinars, you've seen them, you've heard from them if they ask questions or unmute themselves or share their feedback. But then once you get to actually meet them, like that networking and being in the room and working in small groups also, whether it's by industry or by just where you sit or random, just how that might pan out. I think it's just, it's not something that you can really put a number to or like a dollar amount to or anything, right? I think it's just invaluable that networking that you get. I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, it's building a big community of ERG leaders from different industries and different backgrounds. So
Mhm.
I don't think you
From
can get
all over.
there. Yeah, you
Yeah.
cannot get that everywhere. And that's what makes divERGe very special.
In different budgets, right? So you're hearing from people that have huge dollars and some people that have literally $0 and just are doing all the free things, right? You're also hearing from people all over the country, some people that are virtual, some people that are in person, some that are hybrid, right? So you're really learning how people are implementing programs and what they're doing for their ERGs to really grow them, to make a bigger impact, to be more impactful for their organization also, right? Not only about the people, but also for my organization. Like what you're learning from things that other organizations are doing to just be a valuable part of their organization and their community, regardless of budget, regardless of where they're at, regardless of how many people they have in their ERG, regardless of if they're, what time of the year it is, So yeah, I love that. You're just getting lots of ideas, I love it. That's what our participants have said was the very big valuable part of it, and I just love being in the room when you're seeing it all. Those connections and those relationships form, and you're hearing the conversation when we're walking through the room and stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you and with everyone that has participated on divERGE. What will ERG leaders walk away with as a direct result of completing ALPFA's divERGE program?
Oh, so we just touched on it, a huge network of leaders from other organizations, other industries. You'll work away with lots of different frameworks. So frameworks, how to build your annual plan, frameworks on how to present your budget and ask. You'll come away with best practices for really motivating your ERGs. I think oftentimes with ERGs, I hear this all the time where people are like, during my, if it's my Heritage Month, then we have all the engagement all month long. People are coming to meetings, they're attending our events. But afterwards, engagement kind of dies off, even when it comes to your steering committees or your leadership teams on your ERG. So I think that you're learning best, one thing that you're going to walk away is with best practices for really motivating your ERGs and keeping them engaged beyond your Heritage Month, right? Keeping them engaged throughout the year. How to prevent burnout. That's a big one. How to prevent burnout, so people are not feeling burned out. They're not feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and like, I did this is my side job, now I'm done for the year, right? I think that you're really learning ways to lead people, to increase that engagement. You're getting tools, you're getting resources for event planning. We have a couple sessions on, like I mentioned, budgeting. I think that's a big one because, again, some people have zero budget, some people have no budget, but really being able to walk away with a plan on how to ask for budget and how to show how that's why you need the dollars and what the direct impact will be year over year as well. I think that just the event planning and how to plan your Heritage Months and just all the ideas that you're going to hear from other participants as well. You're just walking away with so much to really any ERG, to keep any ERG. And what I love about it too is it's not just specific to like a Latinx ERG, if you will, right? It's not specific to that. Like you can take this as an ERG leader and take it and share it with your other ERG members that might not be a part of divERGe or that might not have attended one of our training programs, right? And you can take that and bring that back to your organization and really spread that knowledge and share the wealth, if you will. So you get a lot as being a member of this program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back to your fundraising and how to, like, for example, ask for a budget, because one of the conversations that I recall having or listening to this year was on how to report on the impact of your ERG. So it's like, well, how do you ask for a budget? But when you're asking for a budget, you have to relate that budget with the actual impact that the ERG is having within the company. How do you report that? And how do you, show the company that the ERG is a great investment to have, and how successful their employees will continue to be, and the direct impact it's having into their organizational goals.
Absolutely. And I think that, I'll say before 2020, I think that ERGs were big. Companies had them, but I think after 2020, that's when everybody was like, we need ERGs, we need all these employee resource groups, we have to launch them ASAP, we have to get them up and running. And I think that now that's kind of like steadied out, right? So I think that showing this is what we did last year, this is the impact that it had, right? To your point, this is how much it cost us, this is what we could have done. I always like to say, give a good, better, best, right? Say this is what we want, this is what we're asking for when it comes to like our dollars and our fundraising, and maybe it's working with your executive sponsor, whatever that looks like for your organization. I think that that's a big key initiative. A big key point though is saying, hey, this is what we did, this is how it worked, this is how much it cost, and this is why we're asking for more dollars, or this is why we're saying let's keep it flat last year. And if you can have year over year, and if you can spell that out, and really some of the frameworks in the forms that we provide, we have a repository of forms and worksheets for divERGe participants, and it's constantly growing year over year with more forms and more things that our teams are creating. And I think that that's just a great way to really be able to show your impact, and show why they need to continue to invest in your ERGs at your organization.
And all of that tied to data, because in the end, when you're taking decisions as to, the activities that you want to do, or why you want to recruit more members, or why an ERG is important, you back that up with data. And that is also a conversation that you've had during the divERGe program, showing data and how, what things are trending and what things are not. And maybe that is going to help our ERG leaders move forward into their decisions and grow in their ERGs. So I know for a lot of our leaders and professional members in the organization, that data is very important. Where can I find that data, or who can give me that data of what is working, and where are the companies moving, and what trends are happening. And during the program, we discuss a lot of that data.
Yeah, because I think, data is, they're numbers, right? Numbers don't lie. You can finagle numbers and finesse numbers, but typically numbers don't lie, right? So I think when you have the data and the insights, like to actual show, like, it's not just insights, here's the actual numbers, here's the facts, this is what we did. Here it is, there's no room for question. There's no room to say, did you do that or did you not? So, I think as part of divERGe, we're really showing you all how to spell that out, how to say, hey, this is what we did. This is how it's documented. This is how you can show the return on the investment. This is how you can show what the investment was. This is, the man hours that it took, the people that it took, different forms, different everything to bring your initiatives or your programs or whatever that might look like to life, right? When you're doing your planning, when you're talking about how you can really show your impact and what that looks like, and when from concept, right, from the idea to the actual implementation of that idea, and how to show what that looks like. So yeah, agree with you.
Yeah, that why, that is so important. The why, why we're doing things, and that is so important. So based on all of this, how do you view the role of mentorship in the context of ERG leadership and DEI initiatives? Can you share any impactful mentorship experiences you've had, and how they've influenced your approach to fostering a diverse and inclusive workspace?
So when it comes to mentorships, especially when it comes to mentorships in ERG, and how the role of a mentorship is just so important when it comes to your ERGs. I think that, when you think about mentorship programs, it's really to help develop and support the success of someone, right? So when you're thinking about your ERG members, it's to really help develop them and support them, whether it be just to support their success in the employee resource group, or to support their overall success, right? That mentor is really the one that's helping you get to what that next step is, right? So I think that it's super important to have mentorships and mentorship programs even within your ERGs, right? I've seen where ERGs have really been able to take their like come up with an idea of saying, hey, we want to like have a mentorship program, because maybe their company doesn't have like a company sponsored mentorship program, right? So I've seen where ERGs have even created like a diverse mentorship program, right? And sometimes it starts off very informal, but then it becomes like a formal program, right? So I think that the role of mentorship programs in ERGs is very important, right? I think that again, these mentors, they really provide that guidance and that support. So what you're learning as an ERG leader is your volunteer role. You're learning skills and you're developing in ways that will just support you throughout your career, right? So it's not just it's not just for this ERG. It can be geared towards the ERG, but what you're learning is things that you can take in life, you can take throughout your career. And having that mentor really can help you navigate some of those complexities of the workplace or even of your ERG, right? By offering different types of insights and all sorts of things like that. Mentorship really, like I said, it helps facilitate that skill development. It helps you just kind of break down doors and barriers and kind of help you navigate problems. So I think that's really great in the ERG space. I think the role of a mentorship program or having a mentor is really good for career advancement and even just personal advancement, right? Mentors can really help kind of, advocate for professional growth and for career advancement. So typically, if you have a mentor, it's somebody who has been where you're at and can help you get to that next place that you're trying to go, regardless of what that is, right? Whatever your personal goals are. So I think that having someone who has walked this path and they've kind of seen the ropes to jump and the ropes to skip and what to know. I think that having those relationships are crucial. And when it's from someone that is in a community that you're a part of, that you want to be a part of, right? Someone that maybe looks like you or somebody that has a similar background as yours, right? Somebody that, I think, what do they say? Like, if you can see it, then, you can achieve it, right? Having someone who's already walked this path in front of you is really big, especially if you're in an organization where maybe this mentor that you have is in a seat that you are looking to be in, right? They can help you access different opportunities that really can help with your career progression and your career growth. I also think mentors and ERGs, when it comes to employee resource groups and having mentorship programs, I think that it really helps with cultural competency and really just inclusive leadership in general. Because if you have ERG leaders that are inclusive leaders, and they're what they're doing as an ERG member is really helping to foster an inclusive and a cultural competent environment, right? And bringing that awareness to the cultural competencies of their community and all that type of stuff. I think that when you have mentors in that ERG space, it really helps to with the development of helping to develop inclusive leaders, right? You're going to have really inclusive leaders, and again, you're being mentored by people who have been in this position, right? So they already understand some of the nuances and some of the complexities that you might run into in these work environments or, in your organization. So I think that it's very important to have mentorship programs or mentors, whether it be formal or informal, right? And I think that sometimes these form organically. You can organically just have someone that as your go-to for a mentor, and I think that happens also, that naturally happens. And I think it's great when that does happen, when it's inside your employee resource group. But I think when you put formalities behind it, that really helps your organization as a whole as well.
Yeah, building those organic relationships is so important, and it comes naturally, and it's someone that you can rely on and ask questions and seek for. Is that kind of role model. And we had a similar conversation around mentorship last week with our students across about cross-generational mentorship, and it was really nice, that conversation about how can you learn from someone that has gone through the same things that you have gone through, and they can share their experiences, and you can take the good and the bad, and form your own criteria and move forward in your career or even in your educational goals. So I totally agree with what you're saying. But one of the questions that comes into mind is, when you are in an ERG, then how can you, or in your experience, how can an ERG ask for mentorship or seek for mentorship within the organization?
So I think that so there's different ways, right? ERGs are, I like to say, you can't boil the ocean, right? You got to take, you can't do everything. You can't be all things for all people. But if your organization doesn't have like a formal mentorship program, I think that maybe that's where your ERG, I always like to say ERGs are like a great way to pilot things, right? Maybe you ask for your ERG to create a mentorship program, and maybe you're the one that's going to like pilot it for your organization. I worked for an organization once before where our company did not have a formal mentorship program, but we knew we wanted to put one in place, because when it comes to, there's all sorts of different awards and recognition and things that you can, like, my company's on this award to as like a really great company when it comes to diversity to work for, things like that, right? And there's things that if you get the benchmarking, they'll tell you this is what you need to do. This is what you can also see it from your employee engagement surveys sometimes, some of that data, like people want mentorship programs, people want these things. So I worked for an organization before where we knew that that's what our employees wanted. We also knew that we needed to put some formal mentorship programs in place, because we heard about like all these organic mentoring relationships that were happening, but it wasn't anything formal. So that organization, what we did is we piloted it with our ERGs. We did a diverse mentorship program, and we piloted it with our ERGs, and it started off as group mentoring. So we were very strategic to make sure like you weren't in this mentor group with somebody that's in your, on your team of your real job, right? It's not somebody that you're not going to be in here with your supervisor, with your boss, or anybody like that. You know what I mean? And we were really able to implement this great program. It started off, like I said, as group mentoring program, which was great. And we just kind of put some guidelines and parameters about how to be a great mentee, how to be a great mentor, right? So, and then they had these group mentorship programs. And I think that that's a great way. Maybe if your ERG is looking to do something like that, maybe if your organization already doesn't have a formal one, maybe raise your hand and say, hey, we'll volunteer as tribute. Let us pilot this for the organization and see how it works. And again, it goes back to keeping good data, right? Keeping good records. So then you can say, hey, we did this in our ERG, and this is some of the feedback. This is what we heard from it. This mentorship program was amazing. Maybe you can even say this, part of what happens when you have a great mentor is that their network, right? They can open doors for you that you might not be able to open yourself. They know people that you might not know. So, that your network can expand to a very valuable network just from your mentors' networks even, right? So even within your own organization, they can kind of, maybe break down doors or barriers for you or help you navigate that. And I think that it's just a great way to say, hey, this is what we've done. Look at this door that was open, or look at this promotion that came from this, or, maybe it's, again, when you're a part of an ERG, you're a member of a community with lots of members from lots of different parts of your organization. So maybe I'm in marketing, but I'm looking to get into HR, right? Maybe that's a door that's open right there. Somebody that can kind of help you navigate, like, how can I move my way this way? I'm in marketing right now, but I'm really interested in human resources. So, a mentor can really help you kind of navigate that and tell you what you need and get you some of those resources that you might need. So I think being able to, if you can show that, asking to be the pilot, like, hey, we don't have this, but we want to have this. Like, let's put this together. And this year with divERGe, we're going to take a deep dive into mentorship programs and how to do that. But I think that's a great way, is to, say, hey, we know that there's mentorships that happen, but let's make it formal. Let's document it. Let's see what's working. Let's see how it's working. What's a good amount of times to meet with my mentor? What's a good, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And being able to report on it in the end.
Being able to report, show that data, and show the why your organization should say, hey, you know what? We should put together a formal mentorship program if that's what your organization wants to do. And that's what I mean by ERGs. We can't boil the ocean, right? We can't do everything. And there's some things that I will say are above the ERG. And what I mean by that is it's like organizational changes that it's not. If it's an HR, if it's a policy, if it's a program, right? Your ERG might not be the space in your organization to say, hey, we need this, let's do this, right? Your organization might say, no, we have a whole team and talent development or whatever that might look like that's doing this, and that's not your job. Stay in your lane. And that can happen, and that's okay. But I think bringing that awareness and saying, hey, this is what we have. Surveys are a big thing. I think when you survey your employees, you can survey your ERGs and say, hey, who's interested in having a mentorship program? Who's interested in being a part of a mentorship program? Do you want to be a mentor? Do you want to be a mentee? And what qualifies you to be a mentor? If you want to be a mentor, what can you help? What skills do you bring to help? Because I think oftentimes people think of mentor and mentees as a certain level, right? Like, oh, you have to be like a VP or a SVP or a CH, a C-suite employee. And that's not always the case. That's actually not the case. It's great when you have those people that can really bust down doors and open things for you. But, sometimes it could be somebody that's, maybe it's the same level as you, but they've just navigated things before. They have more experience in a space, right? It's not always a level or an age or anything like that people typically think of when they think of mentor, and mentee relationships. So I think that, surveying your employees, surveying your ERG members and saying, hey, this is something that we're interested in doing. Do you want to participate? Would you participate in bringing them along with you when you're doing that too? But I say the first step would be to go to your HR partners and make sure that you can, your DEI partners, make sure that you're not stepping on toes. But yeah, I think that's a great way to bring that, is to say, pilot it, be the ones to volunteer and say, we want to do this. Let's use our ERG to do it. See how it works.
But now that we're working about mentorship, during the program, I remember a big discussion around sponsors and the importance of having sponsors into ERGs. What would be the main difference between, an ERG finding a sponsor and having a sponsor within your ERG, and then, finding a mentor or starting a mentorship program?
So I think with your sponsor, your ERG sponsor is the person that is typically overall responsible for the success of the ERG, right? So they're kind of guiding the ERG with overall guidance, right? So they're working directly with your ERG leaders, typically the chair and the co-chair or your presidents or whatever that might look like. And they're like a mentor for the ERG, right? If you will. So they're the ones that are giving that guidance, saying, yeah, I think that's a great direction that we're headed in. Maybe not. Sometimes they have more dollars, they have more budget that they can, utilize for different programs. But I think when you think about your executive sponsor, that's the person that's really ultimately responsible for like the helping guide the ERG so that it's successful. When I think of mentors, your sponsor can be the mentor, and really they are mentoring your leadership team, right? That's exactly what they're doing. They're helping to break down those barriers. They're helping to say, hey, this is what we should do. Oh, you need this done. This is how you can get, this is what your ERG is looking to do this year. This is what's in our plans for our initiatives that we're going to launch this year, that we're going to impact or, implement this year. Then this is how we can do it. These are the resources that you need, and they can really help move that along, right? Help you provide that guidance and that leadership and that mentorship for that. But I think executive sponsors like a mentorship for your ERG as a whole. Now, sometimes those relationships will form because you're meeting with that executive sponsor often. So an organic mentor-mentee relationship can form between a leader and their executive sponsor. But I'd say the executive sponsor is really like a mentor for that ERG. But again, that's something where maybe your executive sponsor, those are typically appointed roles also. Those are typically appointed by like your DEI team or by C-suite. I worked for an organization once before where our CEO was very passionate. He really cared about DEI and belonging, right? And we love that. And he was very adamant about all of his direct reports would be an executive sponsor. So that was appointed by him. Not only that, but he also wanted them to, like, if you're like a Black person, you're not going to be in charge of your African-American ERG. If you're, in a part of the LGBTQ community, you're not going to be part of that. You're not going to be the executive sponsor of that ERG. They purposely, paired it with a different community that you are maybe an ally to, but maybe it's not a community that you identify with. Now, I think right now there's so much intersectionality with some of everything, which I think is just a really cool place that we're in the DEI space, but and just in the world. But I think that sometimes your executive sponsors are appointed. Sometimes they apply for them, but typically that's a person who has the experience, they have the networks, they have the connections to really help that ERG be successful. So I think that those mentorship relationships, that they're really the mentor for that ERG.
So interesting. The difference in how can ERGs grow and find their mentors, and the difference between these sponsors. In my brain, it's like sponsors. All ERGs have executive sponsors, but not all ERGs have mentors. And there's like that great opportunity to find that mentor that your ERG might need to move forward and grow.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And it might not be somebody that's in your ERG either. It might be somebody that you can reach out to outside of your ERG. So
yeah, learning from someone else, someone that also doesn't belong to your industry, or like you
Mhm.
were saying, someone that is part of a different ERG but is an ally to your community,
Right.
and serves as your executive sponsor, having your best interest in mind.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Love
What
that.
steps should employees be taking to maximize the benefits of mentorship within the divERGe program post their completion of the program?
So, what steps should they be taking? I think implementing what you're learning. I think that's a big one. When you talk about what steps should one take, excuse me, when you're talking about like what steps should one take, you know, to maximize the benefits of a mentorship within the divERGe program, I think that it's one thing to say you have a mentor, but if you're not listening to what they're doing, then what is, if you ask me to be your mentor and I'm trying to give you ideas and I'm giving you these things and things to implement and you're not doing it, well, don't tell anybody I'm your mentor because you're not
Yeah.
listening, and then, so I think that and not saying that they're right, like you have to do what they're saying, but I do think that if they're your mentor, if you've asked them to be your mentor, or if they've been assigned as your mentor, they must know a little bit about what they're doing, right? There's some type of knowledge and some type of awareness that in resource that they can help you with, right? So I think that to maximize on that, you have to be willing to learn. I think mentees have to be willing to learn and to implement what they're learning, what they're being told that they should do. I also think that even when we're talking about like overall the divERGe program, like the practical application, right? You can apply these things. I think that just speaks to that right there. I think that that's the key thing: applying what you've learned, applying what you've heard, doing it, and getting the result, and being able to show that I was told like this is how we should do it. This is how, and this is the outcome. And I also think that even when, like, if it's an ask, right? Maybe you're emailing, maybe somebody connected you with somebody and it's like, hey, my mentor XYZ told me to reach out to you regarding this, and that, right? That right there, just saying this is my mentor and they told me, that can really help with connections and help with, things being done, right? That's that soft introduction for you. Like, they told me to reach out to you. I'm reaching out to you because of this person, type of thing. And I think that just implementing what you've been taught, what you've learned, what your mentor is telling you to do is a big thing to do even after divERGe, right? After anything, I think that just implementing what you've learned is key, because how will you know if it's working or if it's not working if you're not implementing it to see? So
Yeah, you have to try it. At
you have to
least
try it. Yes.
try it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, based on your experience and insights into the program, what are 5 key tips that you would offer to individuals looking to maximize the benefits of participating in ERG training programs like divERGe?
5 tips. So one would be implement what you've learned. Implement what you've learned. I would say to share the knowledge with your team. Like your whole ERG is not going to be at any ERG training program, most likely, right? It's going to be you. It might be you and some of your colleagues, maybe some of your other leaders in your ERG. But taking that back and sharing it with your teams, right? Sharing it so that they too, so you're all on the same page. You say, hey, this is what we learned. Like, what do we think about trying this? So that your leadership team is all on the same page and that you're all aligned. So I think that that's a big thing, is sharing it with your team. I think documentation, we talked about the documenting. Documenting things is going to be a huge thing, so that you can speak to it and you can share where it was and where it's at now and how you got there. I think that's key. I'll say reviewing your goals, right? So reviewing those goals. So saying, this is where we started out. Like, I think taking a look back is great, saying this is what we set out to do and this is what we did. Did we accomplish it or did we not? And if not, pivoting. So I think that's a key thing also, right? What else? We talked about the network. I said network. I have 4. A 5th one. Staying informed. And staying engaged. I think that's a big thing. You can attend all the trainings, you can attend everything, you can learn, you can do all those things, but if you don't stay informed and you don't stay engaged, you're not implementing what you're learning, and you're not continuously learning. Like I like to say, I'm a forever student. I'm always learning. I like to always learn. I like to know more. Things change. That's the only thing that is constant, right? Is change. Things are always going to change. So I think that staying engaged and staying informed and doing your own research and doing your own learnings is a big thing too. So, if you hear something, you hear a concept that you like in one of these programs or in a training program, do your research on it, dive a little deeper, ask more questions, that type of thing. I think is, those are 5 things that I would say to help you be, continue to be successful post any training program.
The importance of data.
Data. Yes. You need that data. Data tells a story, and not only the data, but in a way that you can tell it in a story.
Yeah.
Stories are key. I even say, like, Jesus told parables, right? Jesus spoke in parables, right? So I always say stories just go back to so long ago. People tell stories, and stories are engaging. So if you have the data and the numbers and the insight to tell that story and to share that story, I think that's great.
Yeah, you're one step ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Cydya, I have a few questions that have been submitted from our audience.
Okay.
So I am going to move into our first one that was submitted by Martha. And she asks, how can we as members participate in this program? So, Martha, I'm going to answer your question. What you need to do is stay engaged. Keep an eye out on your email, because we will be sending all of the information when we're ready to open our divERGe registration for this year, and all of the details on how the program will be hosted. So follow ALPFA on all social media, because we will be sharing everything on social media, and keep an eye out on your email. As an ALPFA member, you will be the first to know all of the details and when we're opening. Then the second question that we have over here, this is from Brian, and Brian asks, how can we gather this material to present to the leaders of ERGs, since they may not be watching this really informative presentation? So I think I'm gonna take that as well. Brian, this lives in all of ALPFA's social media. So right now we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So make sure that you share this content with the rest of your ERG leaders and anyone that you feel that could be interested in this conversation and learning more about our divERGe program. And if you know of someone that might want to participate and doesn't know how, or is not involved with ALPFA, you can ask them to visit alpha.org, and we have all of the information there, and become a member so that you don't miss any of the information. Then, I have this really interesting question for you, Cydya. This was submitted by Alan. Can you share some must-haves as we craft an elevator pitch for support in ERGs?
Ooh, that's a great question. And I'm going to assume you mean support for, like, launching ERGs is how I'm taking that. Is that what you're taking from that also, Maria? Like support in ERGs?
That is what I understand as well.
Okay. So some must-haves as we craft an elevator pitch for support in ERGs. So I think that some must-haves, again, it goes back to the data. I like surveys. I think surveys are great. Your company probably does an engagement survey or some type of pulse survey throughout the year, and I think it's great when you have those questions in there that speak to DEI and maybe even community and belonging, right? Belonging. So I think, having some data to show, like, this is why we need ERGs, or this is why we need, if you already have your ERG, this is why we need maybe more resources for support, or maybe more dollars, or maybe more just support for our ERGs to be successful. So for instance, if you're asking for support in becoming a part of divERGe, right, and joining this divERGe program, I think saying like, hey, these are what we'll get out of the program. This is, when they launch everything, saying this is the cost, this is what we're going to get out of the program, and this is how it can impact our organization. I think being able to show that, to tell that story, to show that data, that could be a key thing. When it comes to ERGs also, I just like to remind everybody that they are volunteers. Now some organizations are moving towards paying their leaders. It's very far and few in between right now, but I do know that there are some that I've seen that are moving towards paying their ERG leaders. But typically they're volunteers, and if you're not a volunteer, your ERG your ERG leaders may be paid, but the steering committees, the body of the ERG is probably not paid. So I think that saying like, hey, we're volunteers and we're passionate about this work, that's a must-have. Showing like, we know we're volunteers, but we're passionate about implementing these initiatives or these programs. We're passionate about, enhancing the culture of our organization. I think that could be a must-have. If you already have an ERG, a must-have can be your budget asks. A must-have if you're asking for something for budget, even if it's, and when I say budget, I don't just mean dollars, resources, things like that as well. I think a must-have is having where you're at and your why as to where you need to go. So I think, it just depends. For your question, I kind of answered it several ways, as if you're new trying to start your ERG, and if you already have your ERG, but you're just looking for some support to support your ERG. Also, another way to answer that is, if you're looking for people to join your ERG, right? Support for your ERG, as in people supporting your ERG and becoming members of your ERG. I think that a must-have is role clarity. Explain to them what they're going to be doing as part of your ERG. Explain to them what roles are available and what they're going to be doing, what that time commitment is going to look like for them as well. So I think that's kind of answered that in 3 different ways, but hopefully that answered your questions.
So in the end is identifying a need and then, proposing the way in which we can solve for that need, supported by data.
Yes, supported by data. Yes, exactly.
Well, Cydya, this has been awesome. I don't see any other questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them on the chat and we will be responding live. But if there are no more questions, I'm going to close this room right now. I'm going to thank you first for sharing your time, your knowledge, your passion. Everything you do is amazing. We cannot wait to launch and start our 2024 divERGe program and meet our 2024 cohort. For anyone watching, if you want to learn more, if you want to be the first to know, make sure that you are registered as an Alpha member. You're creating your Alpha member profile with an email that you constantly check so that you can receive all of the information. And don't forget to follow Alpha on social media so that you don't miss any other lives or any other details on programs and opportunities that we're sharing, but also so that you get the latest information when we're launching our divERGe cohort this year.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. Anything that you want to add?
No, I'll just say, divERGe it's a program that, we launched out of hearing from the corporate partners when I was on the Alpha team and saying, hey, we need a training program for our ERGs. We kept getting questions from ERGs about, hey, how can we do this? Like what can Alpha do? So I think, we heard the need and Alpha, I say we, Alpha heard the need and they put a program in place, and it is an amazing program. The participants who have participated in the past will tell you. I just think it's a great program to be a part of. There's so much learning. There's so much to get out of the program. So we'd love to have you be a part of divERGe this year.
Absolutely. Well, with that, thank you all so much for joining, and we hope to see you in this 2024 divERGe and all of our Alpha programs this year. Thank you. Bye.